Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Scrollberg and today we're gonna be talking about all the ways for you to farm silver as either a new player or a bad player, be it in PvP or anywhere else. If you don't know anything or you cannot really go and try things in contested zones, try to PvP with other players, which is, I am partially in that category to some degree as well. I want to talk with you about all the different ways for you to do that. So the first one is, of course, it is kinda a bit with PvP, but it is the most obvious way. Just farm mobs in open world, be it black zones from safe portals or red zones. Just go in there, farm roaming mobs, farm those camps, like these camps that give you additional rewards. If you have at least, watched at least some videos on how to avoid PvP with all the invisibility potions, assassin jackets, all the boots that give you maximum speed, and everything like that, you should be safe to do that. And this is the most obvious choice. So this is not what I want to talk about mostly, but you need to understand that, yeah, there is that option. You can go into abyss, mists, stuff like that, solo avalons, which are way more dangerous. These are all options if you want to grind mobs, and they are kind of obvious. We're not gonna be focusing on them. Now let's talk about less obvious ones. And first of them will be transporting resources, not refining, not recrafting, not doing all that stuff, just transporting. Some particular resources are just way cheaper in some particular cities, and they are way more expensive in other ones. For example, Thetford is the city for refining ore, which means that transporting ore there from some other cities will be efficient. You will just get money out of nowhere. You don't need any masteries, you don't need any proficiency in anything. You just go into all 5 safe zone cities, you check the prices for, let's check, I don't know, maybe like 4.1 ore. You look at here, it is like 216 and 215 for buy orders, so you can just like buy it in here. Or maybe you're interested in a bit higher price things. You see here the difference between buy orders and sell orders is already higher. And then if you go for example 6.2, to be honest, it is still it still holds up pretty well. But there are some times that buy orders are gonna be just like way cheaper than sell orders, so you can just set up your buy orders in cities where those buy orders are very good, wait for them to fill up, then you go in, for example, like Bridgeworth, Lyndhurst, wherever the ore, or for this example, ore is cheaper. You just get it on your character, get some ox, and you transport it to Thetford and you sell it there in the market, and you will have profit. So this is one of the most, like, it is the stupidest, the easiest way for you to not have any risk and to have all the profits just transporting through safe zones, no red zones involved, just through yellow zones. It is kind of boring, but you can do that if you prefer to, and if you just want steady income and you anyways do something else on your second monitor or stuff like that. So this is the first method. That is, you don't really need to think about it at all. The second method is, in my opinion, it does not really involve PvP, even though it is kind of PvP activity. I've already made a video about it, how to run it perfectly safe with almost zero risk for you to lose your equipment, and you can go in for 4.0, 4.1 sets for like, that will cost like 50k, 100k, whatever you want. It is faction flagging, and whenever bandit assaults are live, so there is an event whenever all the red zone outposts, as you can see here, these are currently Martlock owned, but there are multiple occasions per day whenever all these get vanished and some bandits occupy them, all the red zones at once, and some particular faction starts going from their yellow zones and spreading, getting all those locations under their control. All you need to do is be online at that time, go into your closest red zone to your two yellow zones of your faction with your faction blob, in cheap gear and just attack those mobs that are on outposts and help people get them. You will get your faction points that you can see in here. So here's my faction. You will farm these potions very, very fast, and then you can buy for them. You can buy rock hearts that are the easiest for you to sell, like hearts just in general. It depends on the city that you live in, and you can buy them in bulk, sell them, and this is going to be pretty cheap, fast money that are quite safe. And you can do those bandit invasions just like for first 3-4 locations. Those are going to be safe 100% because enemy faction cannot really come to your first locations after your first red locations that are going after the yellow ones, because they don't have their own 4 outposts close to your locations. Basically, you can conquer next location only if your previous location is already conquered by your faction. And for example, Thetford or Breachwatch, they just cannot do that at all. So there is no reason for them to come into Bowskull Fail if it is Thetford or Breachwatch, which means that even though it's red zone, you will have a blob of 20-30 people with you. Gankers are not a problem with that amount of people, and you will safely get at least 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 locations, and then you will encounter someone from the other faction, but you can safely just back off after that, and that is going to be it for you. It will take 10 to 15 minutes, and you will have pretty good profits for that margin of time. You can do that multiple times a day, and that's gonna be quite easy silver as well. And you don't really need to think, you don't really need to calculate anything, you don't need any masteries, nothing. Okay, now let's go for the second one. It is refining. So refining is you can buy the same yet again resources, like for example ore in some particular city where it is the cheapest, then transport it to the city where you have refining bonus. Every single city has refining bonus, like in here you can see the Thetford has ore refining bonus with 40%. Basically it is idiotic for you to refine ore anywhere else rather than Thetford, because you will just lose all your profit. And so you can go into cheaper cities quite, in my opinion, or in my experience, whenever I was doing it before, like month ago, the cheapest it was in Breachwatch and Limphurst, very often. Then you just set your buy orders then for any type of ore that you're interested in. You don't really need refining bonuses. You don't really need, no, refining bonus you need. Masteries. You don't need refining masteries, so you don't really need a lot of experience in that character. You just need tier 4 opened, and then you buy those materials, you transport them to the city that you need them in, and then you refine there, and then you most likely, it depends on different tiers and different types of materials that are outcome. So bars here in this particular setup, some bars are more expensive to sell in Thetford itself, because people who refine higher tiers in that place, they require low tier materials, which means that you don't even need to transport them out of Thetford. But mostly you'll probably have to then transport those bars out of Thetford to places where it is the most expensive. What you need to do is just naked teleport around cities, look at those markets, check the prices for particular 4, 5, 6 tier, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 or any other material. Check those prices for that particular stuff. If you see that prices are better and you will have profit, then it is, you can do that, and it's going to be quite easy. It's not going to be a problem at all. Then, of course, there is an additional way for you to make money, which is yet again kinda safe, but it doesn't require from you to be a PvPer. It doesn't require from you to be a skillful player. You just yet again take either fully escape build and something that will be hidden from the eyes of gankers. So basically you just go around in 4.1, very cheap setup, regular horse, and you get some expensive loot from here. Basically, what am I gonna... I would like to to just show it you here. For example, let's go for cursed stuff. Let's go for cursed stuff. Let's go for tier 8. Let's go for tier 8.2. For example, it doesn't have to be this way. It's just an example. So as you can see here, there are buy orders for 1,600,000. Of course, for 8.2, it's going to, this market is going to be not, okay, let's go a little bit lower. Let's go 6.2. Okay, yeah, this one is way better. For example, you see that the real price and average price is 500k. On the market, we see some 400, 399k curse stuff, and you think, well, these are pretty cheap. Maybe if I buy them here and then I deliver them to Carleon, black market can buy it for like 500-600k silver. So you will get profit this way. But you can instead get your buy orders set up with different types of items. It can be any weapon, it can be any armor, cloaks, anything. Expensive, cheap, does not really matter. The only thing that you're interested here in is for these two prices to be for them to be in a drastic difference, so that you will have your surplus of money that you will get whenever you're selling for the real price of the item, and someone who just wants to sell that item off as fast as possible will just go for your buy order. And this way, yet again, you can do it in the same city, so you can basically just set up your buy orders here and then sell, and then if someone sells you the item with that buy order, you just sell it right here for the you're creating sell order with 200k higher bid, and someone will eventually buy it, and there you go. There are your money. No masteries, no nothing involved, no PvP, no nothing. But you can deliver those things in Carleon and try to sell them at the black market at higher price, and that is, you will say that is quite a dangerous task. Sometimes, yes, to be honest. Red zones in general are not really that highly populated currently. If you are in this stealth cheap item set, so for example, with horse that is tier 4, you don't really need a lot of you don't really need a lot of carriage like this carry potential, this courier buff to be high. If you are gonna sell 2, 3, 4 items that are very expensive, you just need a basic horse tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 in order for you not to get ganked by the lamest people. And then if you are transporting it at times when there's not a lot of people, so it is either morning or very late night, or even just a day, so not prime time, not the evening, you will probably quite easily not encounter single ganker on your path, especially if you're not following directly roads. And if you maybe before that try some routes on your, like just with tier 3 horse, just run around from your royal city to Carleon, look up those routes, and that's gonna be it for you. That's gonna be more than okay. You will get your profit because these items, especially if you've bought some items with buy orders that were cheaper than sell orders, are gonna be more expensive in Carleon. Many times at black market, many times you can just buy some items with even these sell orders and they will still be way more pricey. They will be, yeah, you will get still a lot of silver from selling them to black market, because on black market they will be even more valued. It depends on different items, but this is an option that you for sure can utilize. And the stealthy unworthy of gank build is one type. Then if you want to transport a lot of different items that are gonna be high with their weight, for example, you want to transport a lot of 4.2 staffs or 4.1 staffs, they are cheap, you can just get hundreds of them, and then you can transport you want to transport them, then transport during the bandit invasion, during those times when all the faction guys are running around getting all those points. You can just join the faction blob and follow them up to the location that is near Caerleon, and then just get into Caerleon with 0. You don't need to faction flag yourself, because this way other faction would not be able to attack you, only gankers will, and gankers will be afraid of those blobs. And that's basically it when it comes to Caerleon transporting goods. It can be resources if they are at least somewhat needed in Caerleon. It can be a lot of different things, but this is an option as well. Then of course you can farm yellow zones, but I would not recommend doing that in terms of solo experience or solo gold farming, silver farming. It is not really good. Maybe if you want to fame farm, group dungeons can be okay-ish for the first stages, but you will just understand that you will have a lot more fame in red zones when there is not a lot of gankers, and you can be way more at ease with your character, because you have this number of gankers present in the location. If there are any, you can just back off. But just in general, I would not really recommend farming yellow zones, as most people do. You can farm them for resources if they're not overcrowded. If you have high enough proficiency in gathering, you can mass AoE farm them for tier 5 resources and all the enchanted tier 4 resources. Maybe you can even go into tier 6 yellow zones and farm it there, but tier 6 locations, they are not rich on tier 6 resources, and those are almost constantly grinded out of them, so do not expect to find there a lot of tier 6 resources. But tier 5 and enchanted tier 4s are more than option. You can go for depending on your skill in gathering, on your speed, you can faction flag and just go and do that in your yellow zones that are your faction dominated. You will get some additional faction points, and you will get 500, 600, maybe up to million to million and a half per hour if you have gathering higher up. So it depends. Basically, you'll probably would not go lower than 500 an hour, even if your gathering scale is pretty low. And you'll probably not go higher than 1.5 million, even if your gathering scale is pretty high with that type of farming sealer. Then there is, of course, the crafting. The crafting is itself pretty hard in terms of how to do that. You need to check out prices a lot. You need to know what to craft in different towns. You need to know which artifact weapons are currently the meta to craft, and yada yada yada. You can do that if you're interested in doing research for that. You can do that, and there is always profit in crafting, in refinement, in doing all those things, especially if you are buying resources wisely. If you are using your focus from your premium, you will almost always have some profits, and you will level up your crafting, which will make your further crafting even more profitable. So of course crafting is yet again pretty obvious choice in here that you can do. Then there is of course skipping the statics. But skipping the statics, again, it involves PvP, but it involves it sideways. You can always go into statics. So yeah, basically it involves way more skill, but mostly PvE and rat-ish kind of skill. And if you're not really if you're okay with looking for good juicy boss for some time, this is the thing that you for sure can do. So static dungeons are these big ones that you can see on the map. They always say their tier, and whenever you are closer to them, they will say the amount of stacks that are on bosses and on chests in that particular static dungeon. And then you can skip all the mobs that are very harmful on your way to the chest and to the boss. Then you go up to that boss, you change your skip setup that always involves a lot of invisibilities. Basically, you're trying to get as much invisibilities and speed ups as possible with your gear. It can be very cheap, like 4.1 is more than okay. So your skipping set will be like 50, 60, 70,000. And then you can gear up in like tier 6 plus gear for either druidic staff if you're solo, or one of nature staffs, I mean, or you can go in combo, in duo or trio combo with a healer and some DPSs, and then you can just kill those static bosses that are constantly spawning in the same locations. All you need to do is to either go into those statics whenever there is a rallying troops buff, and then there will be PvP, then there will be way more people who are there, or whenever that status is not being applied there is less rewards, but sometimes mobs are still getting stacks and bosses are still getting way more juicy in terms of rewards, and if you get that, you can kill it, and the rewards may be very, very big, in millions, sometimes, yeah. But it is not guaranteed, and sometimes you will get 100, 200, 300k, and it will take a lot of time. So luck involved, not a lot of PvP involved. If you are going into red zones, not black zones, and you are taking your basically the timings whenever you're going there, it is again morning, day, time, and it's not a rallying troops moment, and you find a boss. So there are more ifs, and there is way higher ceiling for your skill to grow in doing that, and if you want or do not want to engage in any PvP at all. But the PvP itself that happens there often involves you rapidly changing to your skips setup and trying to outmaneuver enemies from mobs and stuff like that, and using invisibility wisely. So this is not the regular PvP where you just need to overbrawl the guy who has 300 item points advantage over you. So these are the main things that I've probably wanted to talk about, and the video is quite lengthy already. If I was to think what you can do without PvP, or with as little PvP engagement as possible, I would say, of course you can do your islands. You can basically just buy your island, upgrade your island, use your focus on raising things, set up your laborers, and do all that stuff. In my opinion, it is tedious and boring. That's why I don't do that. But that is yet again one of the methods for you not to spend any time PvPing or losing your gear or dying, and still making profits, preparing yourself for those PvP adventures in the future. But that's probably mostly it that I can clearly recall currently. If you want more videos like this, or some in-depth videos about any of those particular things that I was talking about, then for sure mention it in comments. I would be very glad to create any video on the economic points, especially from the point of a player who is not the best at it by any means. I am kind of a still new-ish player to Albion, but I've tried all those things to some extent. Some of them were successful, some of them were not really, some of them were boring, that's why I'm not doing those. And just in general, I love PvP, so I focus on PvP, but I enjoy doing different things in the game. So yeah, thank you for watching, hope you're having a good time, bye.